So you're thinking about going on a plant-based or vegan diet and you're not sure what the benefits might be. Stick around because in this video, I'm going to show you guys the 3 benefits that I noticed when I first went vegan. What's going on, my beautiful people? Thank you guys so much for joining me for another video. My name is Alex Scarfe, and today we're going to be talking about the 3 benefits that I noticed when going vegan, and these are probably going to be the same benefits that you guys noticed as well. So the first benefit that I noticed when going vegan was that I dropped a little bit of weight. So I wasn't overweight in society standards, but in my standards, I was holding a little bit of extra weight, and going vegan caused me to lose a little bit of weight, which was a great thing because you lose the unnecessary fat that you don't really need. The reason for that is because when you first go vegan, you're going to eat a lot more foods that are high in fiber, right? So if you're going to be eating meat, cheese, and dairy and stuff like that, there's no fiber in there. So you can keep eating and keep eating. You're not going to feel as full as you would if you were to eat like a really big salad that has a lot of fiber in it. It keeps you fuller for longer, and it kind of stops you from overeating. So that's one of the benefits that I noticed. So if you guys weren't aware, there is 9 calories per gram of fat, right? And there's 4 calories per gram of carbs. So when you eat a vegan diet, you're gonna eat a lot higher carbs. And if you're eating a meat diet, you're gonna eat a lot more higher fat foods. So you're gonna get more calories regardless when you're eating more meat because they are obviously higher in fat if you're eating meat and dairy, that is. Therefore, for the same amount of grams, you're getting way more calories. So when you start eating more carb-rich foods, you're only getting 4 calories per gram opposed to that 9 calories per gram. So inevitably, you're gonna lose a little bit of weight. Now, that's not to say that when you go on a vegan diet, you're just gonna lose weight, because I've gained weight on this diet as well, right? You can gain weight in a healthy way, you can gain weight in an unhealthy way. And I think that's the same with any diet. But from all the science and everything that I've read and over these last 4 years, the conclusions that I've come to is that a whole foods plant-based diet is the healthiest diet that you can have. And that's the reason why I adopted that. There's also other beneficial reasons, and that being that it's much better for the environment, and it's obviously way better for the animals because you're not eating animals anymore. And if we don't need them to survive or thrive, then why would we eat them? And that was my whole dilemma when I first went vegan. I was like, okay, well, if I don't need these anymore and I can still perform at a high level, what else do you need? So with all that being said, I didn't really make the point that I was trying to make clear, is that I've gained muscle on a vegan diet, right? So I've gained weight, I've lost weight, and then now I've been actively trying to gain muscle, and it's been working. Obviously, you have to be in a bit of a caloric surplus, but there's nothing wrong with that. And if you guys haven't seen The Game Changers yet, it's a documentary on Netflix, and it just showcases how many vegan athletes are actually out there and how many of them are actually performing and thriving on this diet. So I know that doesn't really match the first benefit, and that's being that you're going to lose weight, but just remember, you're going to lose healthy weight, and you can also gain healthy weight by being on a vegan diet. So let's move on to the second benefit. So for the second benefit that I noticed when I first went vegan is that I was way less sluggish after eating meals. You guys know how you get when you eat that meal and it's super high in fat and super high in just everything, and probably not a very healthy meal, and after you kind of just want to go curl up in bed and go to sleep, and you just feel tired, you don't really have any motivation to do anything, and that's why they call it like the food coma, right? Because you're obviously in a coma from eating way too much food. All the blood goes to your digestive system to try to break down all this food, and you gave your body a huge burden and a huge task of work to do, that it takes all the energy away from everything else and goes directly to that because you got a lot of food in your stomach and you got to digest it. It's not going to stay in there forever. So that's one thing that I noticed when I went vegan, is that I was way less sluggish after meals, meaning that I could go work out after a meal and I don't feel bad. I can go run after a meal, which I just tried the other day. I thought it wouldn't be a good idea. I was like, oh, I just ate, I'm not going to go run. I was like, you know what? I need to run. So I just went out there and I ran, and I felt fine. I didn't get slowed down from the food. I felt fine when I was running. I didn't get any cramps or anything like that, like how you'd feel, feeling really heavy and whatnot. So that's another benefit that I noticed, and that's kind of a quick one, but it's also a really important one, because I know a lot of people eat food and then they are in a food coma and they're like, oh, I don't want to do anything, I don't want to get up, I just want to go to sleep, I want to take a nap. And that's not cool. When you eat food, you're supposed to eat food for energy. You're supposed to eat food to be able to go perform, not to go to sleep, right? So that's the second benefit. Now the third benefit that I want to talk about is just overall health, right? So when you go vegan, you're gonna experience an increase in your health. Why is that? Is because you're gonna eat higher fiber foods and higher carb foods. And I didn't know this till recently, till about a couple months ago, that fiber is actually a type of carbohydrate. Did you guys know that? And if you did, comment down below if you knew and how long if you knew, because I had no idea. That's pretty interesting to me. I had no idea that fiber was a type of carbohydrate. So when you're eating more carbohydrate foods and more fiber-rich foods, you have to remember that higher fiber intake is associated with lower risk of disease. So the populations that eat high fiber foods tend to live longer and have lower risk of disease. Why is that? Because some of the healthiest foods in the world are high in carbohydrates, which are also high in fiber. So you got to get those carbs in, you got to get that fiber in. So anyone who's trying to tell you to not eat carbs or to stay away from carbs because they're bad, you got to remember there's also a difference in carbs. There's whole plant food carbohydrates, and then there's refined carbohydrates like bread, white rice, sugary drinks, and I could name a bunch of things, donuts and stuff like that. Those aren't the type of carbohydrate foods that I'm talking about. I'm talking about whole carbohydrate foods, whole complex carbohydrates that come from legumes, whole grains, sweet potatoes, and anything that actually grows in the ground, right? So nothing that's going to be refined or processed. So if we look to populations that live the longest, if we look at the Okinawans in Japan, they're a group of people who live some of the longest lives. They have the most centenarians, which is what they call them, which is most people that live to 100. They have a lot of people that live to 100 in the Okinawans, and they mostly rely on whole plant-based foods. About 90 to 95% of their diet comes from whole plant-based foods. So it's easy to come to the conclusion that the whole plant-based food diet that they're eating is associated with longevity. Also, if you look at the blue zone maps, you can see that the blue zones are areas around the world where people tend to live the longest. So if you look at the blue zone maps, most of the people in those blue zones are eating whole plant-based foods. So with that, there's no question that eating a whole foods plant-based diet is the best diet that you can have for longevity and health. Now, another reason why I think the whole food plant-based diet is the best diet is because it's the only diet that is proven to treat, prevent, and reverse heart disease. Yes, you heard that right, reverse heart disease. And if you don't believe me, look into Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn and Dr. T. Colin Campbell. They did a lot of studies on this and they've proved it. And if they hadn't have proved it, they would have been sued by now for the claims that they made. So they have very compelling evidence proving that a whole foods plant-based diet is able to treat, reverse, and prevent heart disease. So if you guys want to look into that, feel free. There's so much stuff out there. I'm not the first one who said this. A lot of people have said this, but I figured I'd put this out there to my followers because it's a little bit different than all the other videos that I've seen on this topic. Also, keep in mind that heart disease is the #1 killer in the United States and probably in other countries as well. So if we look at that, we can quickly make the assumption that saturated fat and cholesterol are not conducive to heart health. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn is a world-renowned heart doctor and he used to be the head of the Cleveland Clinic. So you can definitely trust the information that is coming from this man. And the diet that Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn recommends is a whole foods plant-based diet, but more specifically, no sugar, no salt, no oil, and no white flour. So I'm not a medical doctor and don't take the advice from me, but this is the way he recommended his patients. And if you watch a lot of videos that he has put out, this is exactly how he says it. I also have his reverse heart disease cookbook. I believe that's what it's called. You can look it up, just type in his name and cookbook and you'll find it. And in that book, it talks about no salt, no sugar, no oil, and no white flour. So if you guys want to do that as well, you can do it. It's really hard. I can't really do that, but I still make sure to eat 90% of whole foods plant-based diet, and then 10% I do eat a little bit of more processed vegan foods and obviously a little bit of salt, sugar, white flour, and oil. But you try to cut down on those things and you try to do your best. All in all, I've seen benefits. I've gained muscle, my skin got clearer, overall health got better. I've got blood tests recently. You guys can look down on my video to see blood tests that are pretty recent, about 3-4 months ago. Everything looks good. My vitamin D, my vitamin B12, which are the two things that vegans are supposedly lacking and are fine. I supplement with those things because in the winter, the sun's at a different angle, so you're not even getting vitamin D from the sun if you wanted to, and taking a supplement is much easier. And of course for B12, if you guys didn't know, it's a bacteria that's actually found in the ground. So getting a supplement for B12 is more than ideal because they feed the animals and the livestock B12. So if you're thinking that taking a supplement is weird, just remember the animals that you're eating are also being supplemented with B12s because the soils are so depleted now that there's not even any good bacteria or any B12 in them. In conclusion, the vegan diet is going to help you lose weight. It's going to help you feel less sluggish after meals, and it's also going to help you get healthier and have more energy. And that concludes the video. If you guys did enjoy it, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, leave a comment down below and let me know what you guys thought. I would love to hear your opinions and your feedback. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Deuce.